What is going on, people? What is going on, people? We are back. Third stream of the day. We did the Manchester United watch along. We did the Manchester United match reaction. And now we are transitioning over to NFL talk, man. I really appreciate the love you guys have shown for the Big Bang podcast. We're going to be back tomorrow with another episode of that, talking spreads and everything that you love. But today we are talking about my team, the Baltimore Ravens. I haven't really made a lot of Ravens content on this channel, probably one video, but I want to change that, man, because I love the Baltimore Ravens the same way I love Manchester United, man. So I want to bring guests that know the Ravens well, can talk football, you feel me? And I've done that today. I have a guest with me who has been featured on Sports Illustrated, CBS, and a lot of other major platforms here in the States, man. We're going to be talking about a very difficult start to the season, but I'm going to bring in my guy, Sam Njoku, my brother. How are you doing?
Not bad for a week two loss. But
Yeah.
it's feeling pretty good. Not bad.
No, first of all, man, thank you so much for hopping on the channel with me. I really appreciate it. Man, I really enjoy your pod and the insight that you bring to the Ravens, Ravens
Thank you.
fans like myself, man. And I'm excited. Hopefully we can do this more, man. Hopefully we can do this more. I look to talk about Raven. I want to talk about the Ravens much more on this channel. So, man, let's not waste any time, man. Let's just talk about Sunday because I'm still not really over it. I'm gonna be real. I was heated, man. I was so heated, really from the first drive. Like there's so many things that we can address, and we're going to address a bunch of them. One, obviously, the offensive line is clearly just not good enough. This is the first time it feels like in like 4 years, where I've really been truly concerned. 4 or 5 where I've been truly concerned. The play calling, man, I've just been so frustrated with our play calling. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of things to unpack, man. But man, maybe just give me your overall thoughts on week two, our the way we gave up another lead in the fourth quarter, another 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. We've been making a habit of that over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, man? How are you feeling? And are you really concerned right now?
Oh, I'm very concerned. I think that defensively, the Ravens do have a even with Mike McDonald, they find ways to give up big leads. I think Mike McDonald's big game where we consider him to be. I think his coming out party as a Raven would be a couple of seasons ago when they gave up that 3-touchdown lead to the Miami Dolphins at home a few seasons ago. So the Ravens have a penchant for doing this, regardless of who the DC is. It is a bit concerning considering Zachary Orr is finishing up his second game as the DC, never calling a play ever in any fashion, in any level of the football world. So a bit concerning to see how he bounces back from that. But the offensive line, I think, as you mentioned, is the biggest issue. And I think we've had bad offensive lines before in Baltimore. We've had really good ones. And this is looking to be the worst. I mean, it just looks like the hole is apparent. It's very easy and simple for defense coordinators to scheme up plays to get their pass rushers to the quarterback. And it just seems like it's only a matter of time before Lamar Jackson is hurt or injured with the way that this offensive line is played.
100%, dude. I couldn't agree more. The injuries that Lamar has even seen in his young career, they've been in the pocket,
Exactly.
right? A lot of people have kind of overhyped his running and him getting hurt. Like he really has not got hurt when he's out in open space. It's really been when he's in the pocket. And we've had decent, even when he did get hurt, we had decent lines, but things that sacks are gonna happen in a season. It's impossible to hold up every single play, right? But this season, it seems like it's consistent pressure. I mean, we're seeing, especially on that right-hand side, we're seeing a lot of turnover. The first game, it felt like our tackles and guards were rotating. It felt like every 4 or 5, like it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just not sustainable. Like when you're rotating your offensive line mid-game, that is a red flag, man. That's a huge red flag. I genuinely can't remember the last time we've done something like that consistently.
Yeah, the Ravens did it actually last year with Ronnie Stanley, but he was dealing with an injury. They were trying to keep him fresh. They had Patrick McCarty come in and kind of spell him, and it kind of worked up until the AFC Championship game. But this is a different situation. This is the point where You draft a guy in the second round, in Roger Rosengarten, and you have Patrick McCarry, a guy who's a swing guy, so he's not really too big to be a tackle, too small to be a guard. He's kind of a tweener. So you
Yeah.
get the bull pass rushers, the strong pass rushers, like you saw with Max Crosby, and he can make you look foolish. So
No,
very
exactly.
concerning that the Ravens aren't deciding to stick with Rosengarten. And again, this is the unit, as you mentioned, with the high turnover, especially on the right side. So you need guys who can be stable, gel together. This offensive line hasn't worked together ever. So getting in tune with how they handle double moves and blitzes and stunts and all that. It's hard to do that when you're consistently shifting and transitioning tackles. So I have no idea what John Harbaugh is thinking, and I think they need to figure it out fast because there's a slew of games coming up that could really decide this season early.
Yeah, and John in his press conferences has really been concerning me. I'm gonna be real. Like, I'll take it back to soccer for a quick second. We have a Manchester United's coach. He's really good at gaslighting our fan base and telling us we're playing well when we're not. Like, the fan base can see that we're having issues with the offensive line. So when you're saying, oh, Falele's playing well, and we see that he's struggling. McCary doing his best. I do like McCary. I don't think he's a bad player by any means. It's just
Right.
that he's just been it's just been a tough go of things. Let's just be real. It's just been a tough start,
Mhm.
right? So when he's telling us, oh, they're playing well, it's like, dude, no, we're not. Like, you know what I mean? Don't tell me we're playing well, and it's clearly not the case,
Right.
right? And even as poorly as we played, or as poorly as the offensive line played, we still had a 10-point lead in the fourth, right?
Exactly.
And then the decision making, right? Like, Derrick Henry scores a touchdown, and then he doesn't see. I think he gets one more carry for the rest of the game. Like, we had a good drive. We had a good drive, and I think we rushed the ball 6 out of 7 plays. We score, and then he doesn't see the ball for more than 2 more carries for the rest of the game. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, why did we bring this guy in? Even the types of runs, right? It's not enough downhill stuff for me. He's kind of had to get to the edges a little bit too much for my liking. Like, it's not looking cohesive. Like, how do you feel about, even offensively, right?
Yeah.
How we're looking.
I think the reason why they're not running downhill is because they don't trust their interior line. I think a lot of the stuff that the Ravens did well in the past and a lot of the things that Derrick Henry did in his time at Tennessee involved heavy support from his guards. The interior line, Andrew Voorhees and Daniel Faella, they're both subpar at their position. And you see at times when they try and run inside zone or try and get inside and smash between the tackles, it's not working because they're getting beat at the line so fast that Derrick Henry doesn't have enough time to actually make anything happen. So the Ravens throughout the game decided to maybe go outside the tackles where it's not really Derrick Henry's strong suit, but he did have success.
He did. He did.
As
He
you
did.
mentioned, they got away from that even though it was working. So play calling has been subpar. I mean, the offensive line play has been below subpar. I mean, it's been downright atrocious, and they're scrambling for answers. And it's something that they probably should have taken care of and had a handle on during the offseason, but it seems like it's rearing their ugly head. And John Harbaugh, as you mentioned, is gaslighting the fan base, but fan bases have fallen for it. They've seen this show before, and the Ravens fans are a pretty smart bunch, and they can see through the BS, and they know that the Ravens offensive line is going to be the Achilles heel of this team early.
Yeah, man. When I hop on social media, man, it's not looking like the fans are not happy, man. They're sick, man. A lot of fans are really like, man, they're done with Harbaugh. They want to see something different. But before we even get to that, like, we mentioned just a lot of the challenges we're facing. We've always been a team that's kind of prided itself on being the more physical team, being the more aggressive team, winning at the line of scrimmage. That's always been kind of our DNA. When we've been successful, that's what we've done. We've won the line of scrimmage on both ends, right? I feel like, in a weird way, I feel like we're going through an identity crisis, right? I really feel like we just don't know who we are as a team, right? We lost Patrick Queen, and Brandon Stevens has been doing a good job, right? But he's been playing different positions, right? We just, on offense, right? We've been a running team. We've been primarily a running team with Gus in the past and Justice, right? That's been our bread and butter, and now we're we don't know I don't know what I'm getting each drive, right? I just don't know what we're looking to do. Like, are we going to be a heavy passing attack? Are we trying to be a more balanced team? Like, we're not. Lamar he just doesn't look as explosive, and we've seen little moments here and there, even in the Chiefs game. His numbers were fantastic, like on paper, right? But it's just not. It's the impact isn't there. Am I crazy for that? Do you think that's something out of pocket? Like, what are you thinking, man?
No, I think you're absolutely correct. The Ravens don't have an identity in this because they can't find one. They can't. The offensive line is such a crucial part of any offense, and the fact that there's such a gaping hole in the interior, Lamar Jackson's not going to be comfortable in the pocket. He's not going to be able to do what he does. He won't be able to decipher the defense quick enough post snap to really make a decision with the football. So he's looking scared. He's looking hurried. You see with his footwork, he's unsure where the pass rush is going to come from, if someone's going to leak through. So the offensive philosophy, especially passing, is going to look substandard because of that offensive line. And as far as rushing the football, the Ravens should have known before the season started that this interior line wasn't going to be it and done things to combat it. And I think their plan, at least in the early goings, is to feature Justice Hill. So you see a lot of Justice Hill, a lot of Derrick Henry on the sideline, throwing screens and things of that nature, draws to throw off the defense from that, gaping hole in the interior. But the passing, well, the defensive coordinators, the opposing defense coordinators are figuring it out pretty quickly. They know that if Justice Hill is on the field, there's a very strong likelihood that it's going to be a pass, and that's just
it's so it's so predictable. That's another thing, man. It's so predictable. It's like I know for like you just pointed out, when Justice is on the field, probably going to be screen game, something underneath, right? Either screen game or something underneath, right? We just know what's going to happen. If Derek's in the game, they're gonna put 7 in the box, right? Put 8 in the box and see what happens, right? And just see what happens there. So it's just way too predictable, and I genuinely don't know how we right size it in the moment. Like I've been thinking to myself, like, how is this something that can be fixed, right? Is it something? And tell me, like, explain to me, because I trust your knowledge on this, man. Like I'm a diehard Ravens fan, but when it comes to the nitty gritty, man, I need some guidance. So where because I'm looking at the roster. I'm looking at, okay, there's a lot of talks of, hey, bring Ben Cleveland in. We heard what John Harbaugh had to say about Ben Cleveland. It was kind of intense, man. He kind of low-key came at him like, hey, listen, Ben needs to practice better. Like, like Ben needs to be better. He said Ben knows what he needs to do to get on the field. I'm like, man, so
that's crazy.
It seemed it's a straight up call out, right? So how do we right size this? I'm just being real. Like, how do we make this right?
Well, first and foremost, you got to understand, you got to take the press conferences, especially on Monday, being a guy who's covered the team and been in those press conferences, take what John Harbaugh says with a grain of salt. It's really not 100% factual 99% of the time. It's clear that Ben Cleveland's in the doghouse for whatever reason. Maybe he's not practicing as hard. Maybe he didn't do enough to supplant Daniel Falele, and for whatever reason, the coaching staff believes that his ceiling is enough to deal with the floor that is, bottom of the barrel right now in Daniel Falele. But when it comes down to it, the facts are the facts. Ben Cleveland played decent as a right guard. Was he a Pro Bowl right guard? No. But he's good enough to be plugged in and be a serviceable run stopper. It's not very difficult to learn how to stop the run. This is his 4th season. I trust Ben Cleveland, whereas I do not trust Falele. So plug in Ben Cleveland. That's the first and foremost thing. And John Harbaugh will be stubborn to that effect. I think it will take him a minute. It might be somebody up top, maybe Steve Bisciotti, where Eric DeCosta comes and says, hey, we have to start this guy, and forces John Harbaugh's hand. But right now, I think the best bet will be for them to start Ben Cleveland at right guard, put in Rosengarten permanently at right tackle. He may struggle a bit, but at least he'll grow with those snaps. You know what we're getting from him. He's a second-round talent. He's good enough to be in the NFL and just learn and grow with those two. And you saw a little bit of that. You saw when Rosengarten was on the field on Sunday before getting switched out, there was success. Even though Daniel Falele struggled, there was enough talent on the right side to really shift the focus from that right side into a more spread out defensive attack from the Raiders. So get Rosengarten on the right tackle, Ben Cleveland at right guard, and then you have one small weak link at Angie Voorhees, who they may pressure, but at least you have the rest of your O line to cover you. At least you know exactly where the weak link is and where the pressure would be coming from, as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
not knowing which side of your offensive line would struggle. And if they
Mm-hmm.
overload the right side, then you're pretty much screwed if you're Lamar Jackson. So I
Mm-hmm.
think get those two at the right side of your line fixed up, and then I think the offense will move more fluidly as the season progresses.
No, I definitely like that. I like that idea. I haven't, I didn't, I'm not, I don't watch a lot of college football, so I didn't know too much about Rosengarten coming in. I
Yeah,
watched some tape. I was like, he looks the part,
he's
right?
decent. Yeah,
He's decent, right? And I just haven't been able to assess him properly, right?
gotta have the
Because it's just
Ravens.
been, yeah, it's just been too difficult because of the rotation, and
Yeah,
it's when the game's going on, man. It's just hard to really. I'm not objective when the you know what I
yeah,
mean when
that's
the
fair.
you know what I mean when the game is going on. I'm just like fuck, come on, just get this. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like get this shit together. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm like focus in. So
Yeah.
it's hard for me to individually assess. I'm just like I know that I remember very clearly week one. I remember Chris Jones. You you go over here. I'm locked into this side right now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They were like, and that's like whoa. That's a people when people see the tape, when other teams see the tape, what do you think they're gonna do? Same thing happened
Exactly.
with Crosby, and we were trying to counter. Okay, Crosby's gonna get that initial pressure. We're just gonna throw little screens over the top, and it worked for a little bit, right?
It did.
It worked for a little bit, but it's like they're going to adjust. Like
Mhm.
there's only so many times that you can throw that little screen, and they're not gonna just roll coverage over to that side, right? It's just so it's just it's concerning, man. But I think the good thing about it is we do have enough talent. I think defensively, I think we did give up, we did drop the ball defensively, but I
We did.
think
It
we
was
do have enough talent there to overcome. I think week in week out, like next week against Dallas. Dallas has flaws. They don't have obviously they have CeeDee Lamb, which is going to be a huge thing, but
luck.
I don't think I think we can hold. I think our defense can hold their own against them. They don't have a great running game, right?
Yeah.
They're struggling there big time. So there's things we can do to make it a close game. Now the question is, can we figure things out up in the line of scrimmage offensively to let Lamar Jackson have time and space? And uh do you think we'll see changes, or do you think this is going to be just business as usual next week?
I think John Harbaugh is getting the message. I think Harbaugh is a little late to the party, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Harbaugh, this is not the first time this has happened where there's been a clear decision that needs to be made, and Harbaugh is slow to pull the trigger. I think it's going to be one of the situations where he's going to get heat from up top, and he's going to be forced to make a change. I think if Rosengarten gets in and performs well and McCarry struggles, or if Daniel Falele struggles like I expect him to do against Micah Parsons in week 3, then you're going to start to see more heat, more pressure from John Harbaugh to make a change. Right now,
Yeah.
he's been a little bit stubborn, and I think at this point he thought he'd be 1-on-1 because, truthfully, the Ravens should win regardless of the play of this O-line. Just the sheer number of talented players they have on
Talent,
that
the
team
talent
opposed
discrepancy
to the
is,
Raiders. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, come on,
Yeah,
man.
so it was a fail on the defense, but
Yeah, the
the
talent,
offense.
the talent discrepancy. We wasted a whole half of football.
Oh
The
yeah.
whole first half was embarrassing. Like I thought
Hmm.
the play calling was a joke. We need to talk about Todd Monken, by the way,
Oh,
because
we can.
listen. I've last season. I know we had a great regular season. It was fantastic. It was some of the most fun I've had being a Ravens fan. But it's just I don't get him. I don't get
Yeah.
Todd Monken. I don't think he gets Lamar Jackson. I don't think he understands how to maximize Lamar. Yes, he was an MVP last season. I get that. But when push comes to shove, can he get the best out of this quarterback? Can he take Lamar to that level where he's playing above himself in the passing game, where he's making the right decisions when it's where it's a read option or whatever the case may be. I don't even think we're utilizing the read option enough, right?
Yeah.
Like I think there's so many more things we could be doing there. Like how do you feel about Todd Monken, man? Because as it currently stands, I'm I'm iffy. I'm very iffy.
It's so, again, I mean, we talked about the online since the stream started, but it's so difficult to assess his ability to run an offense with the way this O-line is playing. It's so difficult. I will say in that Chiefs game, I saw some passing concepts that I didn't see last year and things that led me to believe that there's a chance that he's implementing things that will help get his targeted receivers open. I think in the red zone in that final drive against the Chiefs, you saw plays that were designed to get guys open, and guys were getting open. It just for
Yeah.
whatever reason, Lamar Jackson wasn't able to
Yeah.
hit the target, and we can talk about that. But for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, Todd Monken gets a pass on that. And you saw it in that Chiefs game in the second half. The reason why the Ravens were able to come back is because the Chiefs were tired. I mean, they were dogging the offensive line the entire day, and you get tired of running full speed ahead 70 times. They had 70 plays on offense as opposed to 50 for the Chiefs. So I think some of that success that the Ravens had in the second half dealt with the fact that the Chiefs were tired.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case in the Raiders game. But I think Todd Monken, you're right. We need to see more from him. I think Lamar Jackson did win the MVP, but as you remember, there wasn't a lot of great quarterback play last year. And Lamar
Yeah.
Jackson's MVP season last year was not equal to the MVP season he had in 2019. So
Not even close. Yeah.
It's fair to wonder if Monken can get the job done, but we're going to find out. I think
Yeah.
eventually that right side of the line will get situated. I believe whether it be too late, we'll see, but I think we'll find out for sure this year whether or not Monken is the guy, and if he's not, I'm sure there will be changes.
Yeah, no, 100%. I completely hear you on the offensive line struggles. Obviously, it's hard to really get a rhythm going when Lamar has less than a second, without pressure. But even especially the Chiefs game, you're right. I think there was a lot of potential in terms of that. The final few drives, the first drive was really good. Like, there's signs there. There's signs there that this offense can hum and get to that place where we're a top one, top two, top three offense.
Yeah.
But it's just I have to see it consistently, and I'm still a little bit jaded from the play calling in the AFC Championship game.
As you should.
Right. It really, man, I'll never forget that day in my life. It was just I was just so frustrated with the way we handled the game. But, on Lamar Jackson, I think he's one of the best top 2-3 quarterbacks in the league. I really don't think I think it's Lamar, Josh, Patrick, and then there's a little bit of a drop there.
Yeah.
Right. I know Joe Burrow's great. He's fantastic, but I don't think he has the regular season resume to really talk to Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I'm going to be real. So my worry with Lamar is, he just has to get over that hump of performing better in the playoffs. For me, I look at Lamar Jackson's career and it's eerily similar to Peyton Manning. It's eerily similar to Peyton. Like, a lot of people are we have the 24-hour news cycle now, so it's easy to just critique Lamar for the mistakes that he makes, and he needs to improve. There was moments in the Chiefs game that I'm just like, man, like, I'm like, yo, he has to make that pass, right? Yeah. We're a toe away from coming back and potentially winning that game, but I think he has the capability to get over the hump. I've just seen too much good tape in the passing game. People underrate him as I think he's generally a very consistent passer. Like, if you look at the numbers, he's always in that 64, 65, 66% range, which is where you want to be as a quarterback. His receiving talent hasn't been fantastic in comparison to his peers, right? We've missed on a ton of receivers. We've missed on Bateman. I can go back to, and I know Lamar. We've never drafted a Pro Bowl receiver. I don't even need to name names. We've never drafted a Pro Bowl receiver. So that's something we struggle with. But I just think he'll figure it out. I don't think it's gonna be an MVP level season. I think he's gonna receive a lot of criticism. I think he's gonna have some struggles because of that O-line this season, but I'm not too worried. I don't know how you feel.
I'm a big fan of Lamar Jackson. His skill set is just second to none. I think he just provides too many challenges for defense coordinators. If you're giving a defense coordinator even an ounce of extra info to work through, you're doing your job as a QB. So I think Lamar Jackson, again, I put him at 2. I think Patrick Mahomes is clearly the best, and I think Lamar Jackson is right under him. I think him failing to win a championship as of now puts him a tier below, but I mean, get a couple of rings and we're having a conversation, in my opinion, because I think he's that talented. And as you mentioned, Lamar Jackson needs O-line help. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I mean, Lamar Jackson's skill set gives you the opportunity to have slightly below average play at O-line, but to have this level of play, even Lamar Jackson is going to struggle. And he hasn't really struggled in these first two games. I think, to his credit, he's performed very well given the circumstances. But to have the type of play you want from your offense, and they brought Derrick Henry in to be pretty much a two-headed rushing attack with Derrick
Yeah.
Henry. He doesn't have Derrick Henry's, stats yet to expect the defense to play off. Right now, the defense is really just playing regular in the front, and then if Lamar Jackson to total it away from the side, they have the speed on the outside to tackle him.
match
If
it,
they
yeah.
had interior line help, then Derrick
Yeah.
Henry will force these DCs to really put pressure in the
Yeah.
middle of the defense and give Lamar Jackson a chance to make something happen. But that hasn't happened yet. So to your credit, I agree. I don't think this will be an MVP season as long as the O-line remains the same. And that criticism will continue until he wins that championship.
Yeah. Do you think that John Harbaugh is on any type of hot seat? I've been thinking about this. I don't think so personally. That's just my person, because we're the Ravens. We're the Ravens and Steelers. We kind of mirror each other in that way. We don't fire coaches. We like the stability. We like the consistency. But I really haven't been on that train of John Harbaugh needs to go. I really haven't been. I've had critiques, right? But generally, I think he is one of the 10 best coaches in football. Like, I really think that. So do you think there's any semblance of, hey man, Bisciotti and DeCosta and those guys thinking like we may need to make a change, or do you think it's just going to be business as usual?
I struggle because in one hand, if you had asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said yes. I mean, John Harbaugh is a top 5 head coach in this league. He won a championship. He came within 7 points of going to another championship game. So it's hard to really fault him or criticize him in that respect. But man, these first couple of weeks have really shed light and magnified the flaws that John Harbaugh has had since he became a head coach for the Ravens. His time management is subpar. His ability to challenge or hold off on challenging players.
That was crazy. I don't know. He got like baited by the fans. I'm like, why would you throw that flag or that challenge flag? Like, what was he thinking there? That was just clearly a drop.
His notion and what he said was pretty much he didn't have enough time. And I think he was leaning towards that. And I think the fans did sway him, push him, and that was a straw that forced him to toss it. And that's just a huge mistake. You just can't do that. Especially in the second half where timeouts are crucial. The Ravens didn't have those timeouts in the Chiefs game last week, and it cost them. And this time, you're a timeout away from possibly having a good shot at tying the game with a field goal. And it's just crucial mistakes from John Harbaugh day in and day out. And I go back to the O-line. His stubbornness. You saw it in the press conference, him pretty much putting the doghouse tag on Ben Cleveland. These decisions that you're making, keeping players that are clearly better than the guys you have out there, and putting Lamar Jackson in danger. If Lamar Jackson gets hurt, and that seems to be a higher possibility than it was last year, and that's because of the decision you made to keep a tackle/guard project at the interior of your line, I think that will be the straw. There were rumblings that John Harbaugh was going to lose his job prior to Lamar Jackson going crazy in 2018, and I've never been able to confirm or deny that. I've been looking for that, but to your point, the Ravens have made it very clear since they fired Brian Billick that they're looking to keep a coach for the long haul. So Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh's job, in theory, are the two safest jobs in the National Football League, but Steve Bisciotti is an owner second and a fan first, and I don't think that his decision-making will help him in regards to possibly keeping his job. In my opinion, I think his seat is one of the warmer seats in the National Football League. But if you put a gun to my head and ask me if John Harbaugh gets fired at the end of the season, I say probably not. Probably not.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I think man, I hope we can bounce back from this. I'm just thinking about next week, man. The Cowboys came off a terrible loss. They're gonna wanna fix that, right? They didn't expect to lose to the Saints like in that way.
Saints are crazy this year.
Man. Listen, I thought it was gonna be a close game. I thought the Dallas would win, but they would cover the spread, right? But the fact that they just blew the brakes off of them was insane. So yeah, man, the Saints are gonna be an interesting watch. But yeah, I'm worried about the Cowboys because the Cowboys do have a good front, right? Obviously, Micah Parsons, one of the best interior D linemen in the league, right? I can see it now. He's going to be rotating all around all around that front and finding the weaknesses. He'll line up at D tackle. He'll line up at left end, right? You know, and wreak havoc, man. I'm genuinely worried. We can't go 0-3. That would be catastrophic, to say the least.
I think the good thing for the Ravens is the NFC matchup. So they're playing an NFC team, and necessarily the standings don't really get affected too much with a loss. You don't want to lose and go 0-3. I think that's more important. But the fact that if they lose the Cowboys game, I'd much rather them lose the Cowboys game than the Raiders game, just based on conference. But to your point, that front is crazy. Micah Parsons gives you challenges a la Chris Jones and Max Crosby. So unless Daniel Falele gets it together in 7 days, we're expecting more of the same. I'm expecting more of the same. And it might be trouble for the Ravens. But it's any given Sunday, so who knows? But
man,
that line is not looking good.
We're gonna have to rely on a low-scoring defensive type of game. That's what I'm predicting. We need the defense to hold Dak and those boys to no more than 20.
No more than 20. Have a bad running game, so Zachary Orr can focus in on stopping CeeDee Lamb, as opposed to the Raiders game where they tried to make him one-dimensional at first and forced Minshew to make those throws, and of course Minshew.
He made them. Listen, man. Listen, Gardner Minshew, like, he's a great bridge quarterback. Like, he's an excellent bridge quarterback. Like, he just makes plays. Like, I know he's not. He's probably like in the 20s of probably a top 27, 28 quarter, whatever the case may be. But dude, he makes plays.
Yeah,
it's just, and it's very annoying. It was very annoying. He like that one Devontae Adams comeback catch.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous. I was like, yo, that's a ridiculous throw. It's a ridiculous throw. And it's a ridiculous catch, but that's what he can do. And we played into their hands. I mean, Brandon Stevens had a tough time against Devontae, but a lot of that can happen. That can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody.
Yep, that's anybody. Devontae Adams is a freak.
You know, yeah. So I just hope we can figure that out versus CD next week, because CD is going to be looking to he's had a good start to the season, even though they haven't been. The Cowboys have been okay, right? Yeah. But we'll see, man. What do you, just as a prediction for this weekend, man? How do you see this game playing out? Because I'm honestly, I just don't have I'm doing my betting podcast tomorrow. That's one game this is a stay away game. It's going to be a stay away game for certain.
You know your stuff. Stay away from this game if you're a betting guy. One, the game is in Dallas, so that gives credence to the Cowboys to potentially win. And two, these are two teams that are struggling. You don't know what you're going to get from either side. Zachary Orr is in his third game calling the play. You assume that the Ravens' game plan will be to stop CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, as opposed to the Ravens' game plan. And this one was to force Gardner Minshew to make the mistakes, and he didn't make it. Now they don't take any calls with Dak Prescott. They know he's a top 5 QB. They're going to do what they have to do to stop him. So will they succeed is the question. And I don't like questions when it comes to betting. So I like the short thing. So I would stay away from this game. You assume Lamar Jackson will do Lamar Jackson things, but again, they play that O-line will heavily decide the fate of this game. Yeah. I will stay away from it. If I had to predict it, I'd say the Ravens lose by 3, but I would not bet in this game.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Boy, I hope we don't go 0-3, man. I can't even fathom that. I genuinely can't even fathom going 0-3. That just when's the last time we were 0-3? I'm just trying to think. When was the last time we were 0-3?
I'm trying to think. Maybe 2015, 2014. Maybe that sounds about right. I don't know if ever they started 0-3. They definitely didn't make the playoffs when they did. So
yeah.
But I will say Rosengarten, there's a potential he may start just based on what John Harbaugh talked about and how he was speaking. It looks like they're leaning towards having Rosengarten start a full game, and that may give Daniel Falele some pressure, take away some pressure from him, because having Patrick Carr there, you're a guard left in the island. You don't know what's going to happen. So I think Rosengarten gives a little more talent to that right side and helps Falele out. I don't see Falele not starting this game. I just think that John Harbaugh is too stubborn to do so. But if Rosengarten's out there, I think that gives the Ravens a better chance to win for sure. If he starts, I think maybe I switch sides and say the Ravens win by 3. But still, I think it's a close game.
Yeah. How do you feel about where we are defensively? I know we've touched on us giving up the lead. I'm not too worried. I'm not too worried because I think the slip up is more a coaching thing than it was are a skill thing, a skill issue, right? Because I think defensively we have ridiculous amounts of skill at all three levels, right?
Yeah.
Um, is it something that where do you feel we are? Do you think our defense can hold us down while we're figuring this offensive thing out?
Yeah, well, you say you don't know football like that, but you're the nitty gritty. But you seem to have a good grasp of what the Ravens are doing.
Yeah.
I agree. It's completely what you said. I think it's a coaching thing. I think Zach Orr's third time calling plays, and his philosophy is different from Mike Macdonald. Mike Macdonald played a very soft defense. If you really look at it, he did send pressure, but he sent pressure from the outside with DBs instead of linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
And he did bring a guy in. He was pulling tackles and ends out in coverage to disguise their scheme. Very base defense, and it
Mm-hmm.
just made you kill them with 1,000 cuts, which is what the Chiefs ended up doing in the first half of the AFC Championship game, if you remember.
Yeah.
With those 10 passes, completions. They just slowly dinked and dunked and got their way with the Ravens that way. But that's the Chiefs. I mean, that's Mike Macdonald's MO. Zach Orr's a little different. He's a little more aggressive in his approach.
Yeah, yeah.
He said it himself. He said, I'm going to send pressure. I'm going to make you think twice before throwing the football. And that has worked at times. But what you see there is if a quarterback figures it out, or if the O-line's able to find where that blitz is coming from and contain them, you'll get those big plays. And that's what happened in the Raiders game. So I think their approach moving forward may see Zach Orr play a little less blitzes, a little softer in coverage to give less pressure to that DBs who had to cover Devontae Adams sometimes one-on-one in space. So I think if I were the Ravens, I mean, I don't know for sure, but if I were the Ravens, I'd blitz a little bit less and give these DBs a little bit of room. Give Kyle Hamilton a chance to blitz. Didn't see a lot of that these last 2 weeks. So
no, that's
strengths.
That's a great point, man. And I've been really pleased with our front. Nnamdi Madubuike, Ojabo's coming on. He's looking fantastic. Always been. He's probably looked our best lineman to start the season, man. He's been ridiculous. But like to your point, I think what Orr is gonna have to learn and figure out is like the disguising, right? Because it's very you can see when we're about to send pressure. You know what I mean? You can kind of see it, you know, like, but we have a good enough, we have a good enough front where those guys when they apply pressure, they can get to the quarterback. And shout out to the comments, man. We appreciate the love here, man. We have over 100 people watching on all platforms, man. Make sure to hit the subscribe button as just a little pre-thing. We're gunning for 700. I think I'm like one sub away from 700. So hopefully we can get that tomorrow, man. So yeah, man, guys, hit the sub button and make sure to, for those who are watching from, if you're watching from my soccer content and you're just here chilling, make sure to sub to Sam's podcast. His link is in the title. So you can just literally click on Ravens Talk Pod and you'll just go right to his channel. Make sure to sub to him as well. Okay. So great. I'm on 701. That's great. There we go. Nice. There we go. 701. That's lovely, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Gunning for 1,000 by the end of the year. Hope we can get that done by the end of the year, man. 100%. 1K is the goal, man. If we can get to 1K by the end of the year, I'll achieve the goal. But back to Ravens football, man, and the defense. Kyle Hamilton, I've definitely noticed. I haven't seen him in that like Polamalu-esque role as much. I think that's strategic because of the way we have been rushing 5 and 6 at times, right? And you just want to have that back line a little bit secure. And Kyle he's one of the best, back there. So do you think where do you think my idea of what Orr needs to do moving forward? You like that idea of just get a bit more creative, but he's young. That's kind of I don't know if he has that in his bag just yet. I don't know what you think.
I think he tried to in the first game, and the substitutions were confusing to both him and the players. Technically this is still based on what the Ravens are saying, a Mike Macdonald defense that they're implementing here. So, but I think this is a more Zachy Orr-esque defense. So I think the terminology may be a little different. There may be some cues that they're doing a little differently. So it's very confusing the first game. So the idea in the second game, per Zachy Orr himself, was to keep it simple. So again, I think you saw a little bit of less of that disguise thing. I think moving forward, they've been implementing that more. And I think Orr's plan, at least early on in the season, was to use Kyle Hamilton's length to kind of shore up those passing lanes and create havoc in that sense instead of in the line of scrimmage. Because, as you mentioned, Madubuike or Owe and Ojabo are doing such a good job of getting to the passer on their own. Calvin Noy, another guy
Oh,
who's been able to get to the passer.
how could I forget Calvin Noy,
Exactly.
man? This man played with a broken eye, man. What a
Crazy.
guy. What a guy. I
Savage.
I can't even imagine playing with a broken orbital bone in my eye.
No,
Like if I cut my nail, if I get a paper cut, man, I'm like, shit, this is fucking
Shelved.
annoying, man. I'm done for the day. You feel me? Like to play with a broken and he got a sack. I think he got a sack last game,
he
did he not?
did.
Yeah.
He
So
did. Crazy.
yeah, dude, it's just bro, Kyle Van Noy's been one of my favorite. He was arguably my favorite player last season, just off of the strength of how many sacks did he get? Did he get? I think he had
double digits. I think he
double-digit sacks off the street. It's just
that can come in. It's crazy.
come on, man, that's crazy. So no, I listen. I think the challenge with the defense is I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be a top 10 defense.
Yes.
I think the challenge is can Zachary or can he imprint like this is our identity? Like we need the defense to become the identity this season. I really think that's the only way we can really survive. Honestly, if it's not Lamar Jackson centric, it's Ojabo centric, it's Roquan centric, it's Brandon Stevens centric. You know what I mean? That's what needs to happen this season because offensively, we can see we're going to have challenges. This is the first time in Lamar's career where he's really not had a really decent at best O-line. Yeah. You know what I mean? We generally have very good O-lines. But this is the first time he's going to have to figure that out. And Joe Burrow struggled with that before, and he's had to overcome it. He has to figure it out. He just has to figure it out.
I feel bad for Derrick Henry. I think he came in
man
in Tennessee. He said, okay, well, I got the Ravens. Their O-line's always good. I got Lamar Jackson, and it hasn't been there. He was tackled in a backfield too many times. It just felt so terrible for him. So again, hopefully the Ravens figured out with the O-line. If not my idea, then maybe the guards get it together. But it just seems as though substitution of personnel will be their best bet. And as you mentioned, the defense is going to be the ones. And you saw flashes of that in week 2. The pass rush is humming. I think the DBs just need to get themselves together. I think once they get their identity and their scheme down and everything together and find a way to utilize their big guys, as Kyle Hamilton, a big playmaker, they'll be fine. I'm not too concerned with the defense at all. We'll see. I think if they win this week 3 game, I think the sky's the limit. But falling to 0-3 is insurmountable in some respects. So
it's gonna be a very tense. It's gonna be a tense Sunday, man. It's gonna be a tense Sunday. I'm gonna be on edge, to say the least, man. To say the least, but yeah, no, 100%, man. But we're coming up on time, man. I want to make sure we stick to time. Sam, hey, I want to thank you so much for hopping on. Hopefully, I can get you back as soon as possible, man, to talk Ravens ball. This has been a lot of fun. I haven't done this on the channel, man, and this is so much fun. You have no idea. Yeah. Like this is kind of what I envision my channel being, where I'm talking about the things I love, right, and then sprinkling in other things in between here. So yeah, hopefully we can continue this, man. Hopefully I can find some more Ravens content creators to connect with, because I really don't have a strong Ravens content network, if that makes sense. Most of my friends are just that are Ravens fans are just, they don't make any content, they're just fans, stuff.
I think I saw Flock Rundowns commenting on your.
I saw that. Yeah, shout out to the Flock Rundown, man. I'll reach out. I'll reach out, man, for sure. I'll reach out for sure, man. Hopefully I can get some more people, but appreciate you greatly. Make sure that everyone who's watching, we have over 100 people watching on Twitter and YouTube. So if you guys can just sub to the Ravens Talk Pod, follow Sam on Instagram. Follow Sam on Twitter. And what's your handle on those, just so everyone knows that?
Twitter is Ravens Talk Pod, and you can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Ravens Talk Podcast.
Okay, there we go. I'm gonna drop that in the chat. Yeah, make sure to follow these handles right here, man. Make sure to follow these handles. And obviously the YouTube handle is literally in the title, so just click on that. Make sure to follow my brother here. We appreciate it, guys. We're gonna sign off for this episode, but hit the like button as always. Stay locked in. That's the motto of the channel. You feel me? And we will talk real soon. All right. Take it easy, guys.